So we got some big news to get into when it comes to both 11.1 and the current game. So without further ado, let's jump into some of this stuff. 11.1 PTR changes and rebalancing to Circe's Circlet. Yes, that's right. If you've seen the recent broken game mode where basically people can go into raid without a healer, that's no longer going to be the case. It turns out that the Mariner's Hollowed Citrine was allowing basically tanks and others to heal so much that they didn't in fact need healers anymore. Well, you know, Blizzard came around and they said, hey, you can't do that shit. We're going to have to nerf that. So it is getting nerfed. It'll probably still be one of the better gems to put in your Circe Circlet, but it will no longer give you the ability to basically not invite healers. So with that change goes into effect instantly and should basically change how the carrying strategy and everything else works for Season 2. Oh, what are you doing out there? Playing some Plunderstorm? No, you're now watching an ad for me, an ad for the giveaway. That's right, the double mount giveaway is now live on my stream. All you got to do to enter is watch 1 hour of my shitty stream to get a point to enter the giveaway, where you can pick 2 mounts off the BNet store that could be yours. I'm live 5 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Check me out. Get your point. Plug your ears. You don't got to listen to me. You don't got to watch me. Just be around here. Get your point and enter into the giveaway. Moving on to 11.1 Raid Renown. It's big. We talked about this yesterday. The rewards coming from this Renown track are absolutely insane and going to change how raiding is done going forward and WoW for the rest of our lives. I think the Renown track is going to be something that comes to stay. We recently saw basically the changes that came with this raid and how they gave us a slow buff, right? We were collecting those the Rhubar Finery with every single boss we killed, and we slowly got buffed in player power. That was like the prelude to this Renown track. So this Renown track is going to buff players, but it's also going to give us a ton of abilities and quality of life changes as we advance through it. But how are we going to advance through it? That was the question yesterday. So the way we're going to obtain Renown is, for one, you got to know this thing's going to be basically time-gated. So there will be 1 Renown per week that you'll be able to get. We will all start at Renown 1, and every week we'll advance to the point where we can unlock the next track of Renown. Now, this thing has 20 Renown, which would mean this thing takes 20 weeks, essentially, to be able to fully be unlocked and get that basic, that badass T-Rex mount at the very end of it. But along the way, you will advance by only needing to clear half the raid. That's right, it looks like the way this is going to work is if you clear at least half the raid, you will unlock the 1 Renown that should be available for that week. Now, there will be catch-up mechanics for this as well. They talked about it briefly, where if you missed a week, missed a couple weeks, you'll be able to go through all of the Renown in a single week up until the one that's currently being unlocked by everybody. So that's how that'll work. Now, again, we'll get Renown from the bosses and from mobs in the raids, so you can take different paths. You'll be able to basically, get different, kill different bosses different ways, just getting the Renown in general won't be necessarily done by, you got to get up to the 5th boss every single time. So you'll be able to do this different ways. They just want to make it easy enough where people don't feel the need and desire to just keep pushing in the raid until they unlock the Renown. It should be fairly unlockable as long as you're raiding at a regular rate. You'll get 450 reputation each from the first 1 to 6 bosses, and then the bosses beyond that will give 600, and the final boss, Gallywix, will give 1,000. So basically killing these last couple bosses, if you have a raid lockout or something, should still be enough to give you another Renown, even though you save the lockout or something like that during progression time. So that shouldn't hurt you in terms of advancing on the Renown track. As I said before, there will be catch-up mechanics for those of you out there who maybe miss a week or two. And then the node content. We talked about some of this yesterday in the Mr. GM video. There is a ton of shit here, including things like making you consume food faster, giving you the ability to drop off on terms of the heroism buff, right? So getting rid of satiated, 10% speed buffs. It goes up to, I believe, 30% speed buffs when outside of content. We even saw that there is, obviously, there's going to be damage and healing buffs, right? That's part of this is, making you stronger as you advance through the Renown track. Gaining counterfeit dealer's chips for different appearances. There's going to be a ton of transmog on here involved as well. Out-of-movement combat speed, as I said, buffed by 30% at Renown track 18. We talked about some of the mounts that you'll be able to get as well. The big T-Rex boy mount at the very end will be a nice little thing for everybody. Healing and damage buffed by 18% here towards the end. I did want to say, too, you'll get a freaking res. The ability to res yourself outside of the raid as well as the ability to teleport to the raid automatically. So Warlocks, you're going to be looking for a job at the end of this, because everybody will have the ability to port to the raid eventually through this Renown track. As I said, big quality of life change. Ability for people to res themselves after dying to a boss. Ability to port around. Speed buffs throughout the raid. Just a lot of really good stuff that makes raiding a little bit less cumbersome and a much more enjoyable experience. So this Renown track, to me, it's a game changer. It's a great thing, and I'm glad they added it to the game. Sam going to be exalted with repair bots again and again. Oh, God. Well, what's the other piece of content that we do a lot of? It's Delves, yeah. Delves were a big addition to the game, and they'll continue to be a big addition in 11.1. We obviously know we're getting Tank Brand. He's going to be a thing. Finally, healers will be able to do Delves just as easily as everyone else. Modified map mechanics are coming in. If you don't remember, the maps that dropped, right, the existing maps and all that shit, I'm talking about the maps that buff the raid, right, the Delve map system. So if you don't know what the Delve map system is, it was an extra map that would drop like from a treasure chest or something at the very end. And if you got it, it would buff the next Delve that you did if you clicked it and applied the buff. They found that a lot of people either never got a map or some people got multiple maps throughout the season. So they want to change how that drop rate works. There is also improved Tier 9 rewards for Delves. That's right. Now, in terms of gear, Tier 8 is still going to be your high-end, like that's the highest you can push the item level from your vault and everything else. But they wanted beyond Tier 8 to be rewarding. So now Tier 9, 10, and 11 Delves will reward runed crests. Now there will be a limit in terms of how you can get those. Tier 11 will also reward gilded crests up to 3 times per week, which is the big one, right? That's the one that's going to pump up your mythic gear and everything else. There will be a limit, 3 times obviously, so you can't just go in and farm the shit out of Delves to get the crests, but it does make crests much more rewarding. It does make, Delves much more rewarding in terms of the way you could advance your gear. Blizzard said that they found that people who were only playing Delves kind of hit a wall after Tier 8 where they really couldn't advance their gear anymore. This will give them the option to continue to do so as long as they push it up to Tier 11. Brand's missing hat and new curios. That's right, so there will be a new abilities for Brand to do. They want to develop some new metas for Brand and things like that they talked about briefly here. Now, Brand has lost his hat. That's right. And why is he wearing different hats every time we run it in this new season? Well, it turns out the new big bad, Underpin, our replacement for Zekvir, has stolen Brand's items, including his hat. Now, Underpin will have the single question mark and double question mark difficulties just like Zekvir did, and you will eventually kill him if you do his double question mark. The way you unlock it is doing up to a Tier 10 Delve, getting that open. I believe, was it Tier 9 or Tier 10? I don't remember. It was a Tier 10, I think, was what you had to do, or Tier, yeah. So anyways, unlocking him, killing him will be the same way that Zekvir worked, but he will have completely different mechanics. You'll find him in an arena in the new Undermined raid in terms of like his scenery and where you're going to be fighting him. But he will give you new items and things like that. Obviously, you're going to get the new Delver's dirigible look too. It's a goblin-looking head. It's pretty damn cool. But that's the story behind Underpin and the new curios coming. New affixes as well. We know that they're the affixes for Season 1, they experimented with 2 of them. There was Zekvir's image that empowered players, and another one that would spawn a group of Zekvir's minions. They felt like the whole Zekvir's empowerment thing didn't really show what it was really doing, so they're kind of getting rid of that. Basically, you're going to have Underpin dropping some of his little minions in place of others in these dungeons, right? So you'll be doing the Delve, and all of a sudden some of Underpin's minions show up instead of the regular mobs that would be there. These minions are supposed to be more difficult than the ones that would usually be there, but not so difficult that you try to avoid them or they're just overly, going to just destroy you. That was how they felt about Zekvir's minions. They felt like they were a bit too much in terms of a difficult ramp up, so Underpin will be a little bit less but still more difficult, and there won't be any type of Underpin empowerment. It'll just be the addition of his minions. Resetting item level charges. So when Season 2 launches, Delve level and item level will reset tier progress. So players will be able to start at Tier 4. The difficulty and rewards in Tier 4 Delves will increase to match the new item level caps in Season 2. So that's right, Delves will continue to advance. Obviously, we're getting better gear for Mythic Plus and Raid, which means you're also getting better gear from Delves in Season 2. And then new vignettes and treasure powers. Players will find new vignettes and treasure powers to earn in Season 2. The goal is with these original powers was that players would modify their runs to go after these where they were spotted. They felt like these vignettes really didn't do much, or you know, they didn't add much, so a lot of players just kind of avoided them, didn't care to go chase them, and sometimes people also felt like maybe they were too good. So they're trying to balance that out, see how they're going to make it. Anyways, they wanted it to be rewarding enough that it's worth the risk to go kill some extra mobs to go get them, but not so high that, you know, if you felt like you didn't get the right one, that your run was going to end because you didn't get the right one. Powers for found treasures will be shared, will be shards of curios that were destroyed by Underpin. Players will find shards of amorphic relics, arrowhead idols, and now the not so unbreakable iron idol. So getting these powers acquired from defeating powerful vignettes will now focus on modifying Bran in the run. So when you get them, sometimes it'll be a shield alert. When you fall below 50% health, Bran will shield you, reducing the damage you take by a massive amount in a short period of time. The silencing potion, Bran will throw out a healing potion that will also trigger an AoE silence to nearby enemies, which is that sounds pretty good. And then a heroism canister. Bran can activate a smaller version of Bloodlust at the start of combat with cooldowns. So these abilities sound pretty good, and they sound like game changers in terms of how they could help you throughout the delve. I personally, as a tank, I like the silencing potion. That one sounds pretty good. Only the team leader will be able to modify Bran with these powers. Other players will receive a buff for themselves. So obviously changes to how things are going to work, changes to how also Bountiful Delves, I believe, is also changing. I've kind of missed that one. Bountiful Delve rotation is changing, and how it works, they're going to make sure that basically now every single delve gets its time and equal time in the light. They found that the way the system worked previously, some delves were just bountiful more than others, so they're trying to make sure that that balances out more properly. All in all, nice changes to the delves from what I've seen here. Tons of stuff. All this is going to be tested on the PTR. They'll be taking feedback, and we'll see how everything shakes out when Season 2 finally starts. Now let's talk Mythic Plus. We talked rating, we talked delves. It's time for Mythic Plus. There will be a 2850 Keystone Legend specific mount. I don't remember this ever happening. Has this ever happened in a Mythic Plus season? So we're going to have a mount, obviously, for Keystone Master. It's the purple variation of this one. I think it was purple and red, if I remember right. This one, this more chromed out and blacked out version, will be for Keystone Legend. Getting a 2850 rating will unlock this one with the red eyes and the blacked out armor. This is a pretty good looking one. I don't remember a season where there was a 2850 rating mount. But anyways, you'll get this by doing plus 12 dungeons and getting the Keystone Legend achievement. So that's nice for those of you who like to push keys super high. You're going to get an exclusive mount that nobody else has. Speaking of mounts, there's a lot more. More mounts have been data mined and tested on the PTR now. We're seeing some cool ones. Obviously, there's going to be rockets. I mean, this is a Goblin patch, right? So a green variation on the rocket here, and then mech suits. As many mech suits as your heart could desire, there are going to be in this patch. Tons of mech suits. That one looks pretty damn cool. A yellow boy here, obviously. Look, I love the way the fucking little cannonballs right here, whatever these are, sitting inside of the arm. Amazing. These are perfect. Some flying mounts, variations on these. This kind of looks like one of the raid bosses, the ones with the speakers on the sides here. You'll be earning these in different ways, whether it be through reputations with the different cartels that we're going to be working with, or other achievements and things like that. Obviously, if you love mech suits, this is going to be your expansion. The hyena. It's a new looking one with the armor. This looks pretty cool. We saw this one briefly in the where they revealed a bunch of stuff for this patch. Another blue variation on this. The one we just talked about here, the War Within Keystone Legend mount, and then a black rocket. These look great. Some good looking mounts, man. Different color variations on these. Again, mech suits and rockets galore. I mean, makes sense. We're getting into Goblin stuff. New 3D capes. Blizzard's going off on the capes. I haven't seen capes this good in the game ever. So in terms of capes, you're going to be able to get a ton of shit. The Unlimited Power cape. That's right. Yes, this would be great. I mean, if you're a Sith Lord and you need unlimited power, this is going to be the one for you. A giant battery pack attached to your back as your cape. I mean, this is glorious. The amount of mods that you're going to be able to do with some of this stuff is perfect. There's a jetpack one. This looks great. Different color variations on this jetpack. I wish it could actually fly. That would be amazing. And then the race engines. What is this? So, oh my god, you've got fucking turbines attached to your back here. Some of these capes are massive. Shit, could you imagine this on a Tauren, how big this is going to look? So these look pretty cool, attaching turbines. We saw these not too long ago, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shells, that's right. The Bowser variation of it, of course, and then this one, very ninja-esque. Not a crossover event, not official, but they do even have the bandanas, which will be unlockable, I believe, via trading posts. So you'll be able to make yourself a Ninja Turtle if you really want to. And then the Sun and Moon Mongs that we talked about for the Lunar Festival. These look absolutely great, showing up on the trading post, so these are going to be something you'll be able to get. And then last but not least, in the current game. Let's talk DPS charts, boys. We're in Week 18. I can't believe it, man. Week 18 of Rhubarb Palace. If only you had Invincible. I know. That goes with everything in my life, honestly. But anyways, the Rhubarb Palace, let's review the raid DPS charts for Week 18, where everybody currently stands here. Overall damage, Marksmanship Hunter taking the lead. That's right, we've been seeing a few changes here and there with some of the Hunter specs, and Marksmanship's getting some love right now. We know that Marksmanship is going to continue to get a ton of love into 11.1, complete redos of them. I think Marksmanship's going to be in a really good spot going forward. Elemental Shaman, Enhancement Shaman, been doing great. Every single rogue spec is completely viable right now. You pick the rogue spec you like and you play. We got Ass, Sub, Titty, and Outlaw all here in the top 6, doing really good. Survival Hunter, basically rogues, hunters, and shamans. That's who makes up the top 7 right now. That's insane. We got Frost Mage here, Demo Warlock, Arms Warrior, Havoc, and then down towards the bottom we see Furry Warriors right here sitting nice. A Death Knight sitting towards the bottom, but honestly I've seen Death Knights pop off. So Unholy right here and Frost right here, Balanced Druid, Demonology, Augmentation Evoker rounding out the bottom, boys. Feral Druid and Ret Pally really sitting in the middle. We saw Feral Druid get a ton of changes. They got buffed up really high and then dropped back down a little bit. We'll see how they look going into 11.1 later on. And then damage to bosses, the one that really matters when you're raiding. That's right, Marksmanship still sitting at the top. We got Ass and Sub Titty following up close. Elemental and Enhancement right behind them. Again, rogues, hunters, shamans. They're all pumping. They're all doing great. They're all getting their time in the sunlight. Arms Warrior, Feral Druid doing really good on boss damage, so it's good to see that Feral Druid, they were for so long not even playable really. And now they're back to being, you know, a decent pick. So that's good for Feral Druids and everyone who likes to run around as a furry cat. Beast Mastery Hunter, Survival Hunter, all doing really good too. Basically, all the Hunter specs doing great. Warlock is mid-tier right now. So is Mage for a single target damage. That's the truth. I haven't seen Mages or Warlocks really top the charts on single target damage in a little while now. But when it comes to AoE, they do decent. Unholy Death Knight and Frost DK towards the bottom. Again, player skill matters, so I've seen a lot of them. And then Furry Warrior, I mean, hitting like a wet noodle in terms of single targets sitting down at the bottom here. Biggest movers up and down. Let's check this out. 4 spots down for Devastation Evoker. That was the biggest mover down. And 6 spots up for Survival Hunter. As I said before, I mean, hunters, rogues, shamans. If you want to play with the big boys right now, those are the ones to pick. Player skill matters above all, though. And that is all in terms of news.